Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to the Comedy Review, the show that has Discord server moderation as corrupt as the FIA. Look mate, I just don't dare look at that hellscape anymore. Either I get new angles of Senna's head being hole punched, or this guy wanking over Behrman, or what the flying f*** is this? It's also the show where we talk about things that happen in motorsport. Things like this. Lando Norris signs hate mail, Valtteri Bottas becomes a dinner lady, and Nico Hülkenberg enjoys his new role of stating the f***ing obvious.
Can you give us any more information on the cause of the excessive skid wear? Have you guys learned anything in the last few days about where that came from, what caused it?
Well, yeah, it came from excessive skid wear.
Well, no fucking shit.
We've got a lot to get into this week, and so we start here. The big news of the week revolved around Red Bull, because of course it did. After Max Verstappen had to undergo the peasant task of passing an Alpine last week, stories emerged of arguments between his camp and the Red Bull team, who were quick to jump on the defensive, claiming everything was absolutely fine despite having supposed private crisis talks in the middle of the Bahrain paddock. Things are clearly going as fine as being sat on an aircraft, gazing out the window and thinking, God, that building's a little bit close, isn't it? Or as fine as driving past a road sign that just says, Liverpool. The questions once again circulated around Max Verstappen's future with the team, leading candidates to snag the Dutchman being Aston Martin, who would replace Alonso of all people, as opposed to Special McSpecial Face, and Mercedes, though after this comment I think Toto Wolff might have some other problems on his hands.
I always say I don't flirt outside if I'm happy in the relationship, and in the professional way. If not, I get a really hard time from Susie. There's no question about that anyway, privately.
What else was in the news? Fernando Alonso has a new helmet for this weekend. Is the artist that designed it? Nope. Actually, on the subject of Aston Martin, they of course have Adrian Newey settled in now, and speculation has all been about whether the team should rope in the legendary designer to help unfuck their 2025 machine. However, the outfit have confirmed that Britain will be firmly tied to his current duties, which from these promotional images appear to suggest clubbing, drawing an Aston Martin logo, and fingering his own arsehole. Pierre Gasly topped FP1, which says a lot about how representative that was. That was all despite a lock-up at turn 27, a similar fate befalling his teammate Jack Doohan, who felt the need to apologise over the radio, I guess because he nearly... Now how long do you think it takes to paint the walls around the Jeddah Corniche circuit? Don't look at me for an answer, this is a comedy review, not a f***ing documentary. Anyway, no matter how long it took, the drivers weren't being very nice, as FP1 saw them try to scrape off as much as they possibly could. The strangest of these incidents involved Ollie Behrman. You may remember last week we reported how Bahrain's final corner had him questioning his sexuality. Well, that's not allowed in Saudi Arabia, as his Haas tried to direct the Briton to the nearest public stoning on the pit straight. Light would descend for FP2, in what would be a far better session to judge the pecking order. Unfortunately, this doesn't take into account for the bottle factory, as Lando Norris finished it on top. Lord Nozzer comes into this one hoping for a better weekend. That wasn't a great start, as here he is bottling how to put on a coat. I, of course, made this video about him earlier this week, which has become very popular within the Norris community. In the meantime, here's one of my Twitter followers offering to add some FP1 branding to the sidelines. Although slander Lando anymore and I might have to rethink it. Well, we'll definitely be checking in with you later. Norris led the McLaren 1-2 here, Max Verstappen making up the top three. The other Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda was 6th, the Japanese driver claiming prior to the weekend that he can still beat Max and it's simply experience that's in the way. Yuki had clearly been studying Verstappen's lines coming into Jeddah, that most of his inspiration appeared to come from the Dutchman's qualifying lap in 2021. The 22 car brought out the red flag. No, we don't do those in practice sessions, and made this track marshal very unhappy for some reason. Could be worse. Okay, it probably couldn't, but Nico Hülkenberg was keen to show off just how shit his Sauber was when he couldn't even make it out into the pit lane. Also, anyone who says Oscar Piastri has no emotion must be clinically blind. At least Hulk could try to get out the garage. Gabriel Bortoleto suffered from a fuel leak in FP1, and the team hadn't been able to fix this come the evening session. Afterwards, Gabby would claim this was the best Friday he'd ever had. Elsewhere, #Blessed found it quicker if you just don't do corners, and then became a new chicane himself. And Special McSpecial Face did a special thing. And speaking of special, should we get to our ex-bell end of the week? So last time out on the Comedy Review, I tasked you with finding a submission that was not related to McLaren fans. Clearly this was too easy, as I've forgotten Team LH exist. Here's Hamilton's start to the Bahrain Grand Prix, which I can't show you, or FOM will just nuke me. Anyway, here's a user whose handle came from punching a keyboard, saying, Carlos f***ing Sainz, you will pay for your crime. His crime being having a good start, apparently. This was pointed out by several in the comments, but this time it wasn't so one-sided. Here's another keyboard boxer calling Sainz a crybaby. Yeah, where were you in Abu Dhabi 2021? Some of my other favourite replies: average F1 fan, but an F1 driver does what an F1 driver is supposed to do. Drive to survive fan detected. Estás muy mal del coco, or in English, you are very mentally unsound. And he should try balconying. Is that what Liam Payne did? Well done to the loyal Bell End Hunters for bringing this to my attention, and if you want to nominate the next, well, let's be honest, McLaren Bell End of the Week, use the hashtag on screen, tag me on the platform, or at your own risk, join the Discord. Anyway, on to Saturday. Oh look, there's one of them now. Saturday's FP3 session will be one last chance for the drivers to tweak their setups before qualifying, though not for Yuki Tsunoda initially, as the team decided he was not Max Verstappen, and so not to break the curfew the night before. Also turns out Tomo has been downgraded from Liam Lawson's race engineer to Red Bull arse-crack inspector, and as he had a chinwag with the world's most expensive jigsaw puzzle, McLaren was still on top. Lando Norris once again heading the session with Piastri close behind in P2. George Russell had a fairly quiet weekend so far, but began to turn the wick up in final practice. The secret to his success, cosplaying as a roll of kitchen foil. Things weren't so rosy over at Ferrari, however. Leclerc was looking happy with the car. #blessed, meanwhile, sounded like he wanted to kill himself. By the end of the session, Tsunoda was back out on track, thanking the team for all their hard work, then making them all shit themselves as they nearly binned it again at the final corner. Bortoleto was another who needed to play catch-up, and while he struggled, he was still able to set a lap time fast enough to go better than special here. Both would unsurprisingly be eliminated from the first part of qualifying, Bortoleto keen to show off his new best spinning techniques to Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, over at Sky F1...
Jack there, I'd have brake tested him because he could have done without Fernando loitering on the turn in.
Yeah, Martin Brundle being the biggest terrorist in Saudi Arabia was not on my 2025 bingo card. Alpine found a new strategy to help Pierre Gasly with tyre warmth, simply driving out of the pits with the warmer still on. He did make it through though, along with Lewis Hamilton, though that one was a little bit closer than it probably should have been. Now I was busy this week and also made a video on Isaac Hadjar, claiming that he was the underrated star of 2025 and that his qualifying pace in particular was astounding. So guess who just got beaten by Slowson in Q2? Since that session was as interesting as ever, we might as well jump to Q3, and that was set up to be a thriller. McLaren had the pace earlier in the weekend, though Russell and Verstappen had seemingly caught up. Oscar Piastri was the first to take provisional pole. Would that be toppled by Lando Norris? Short answer, no. Having borne witness to a fine bottle from Yuki Tsunoda on Friday, Nozza wouldn't manage 5 corners on his final Q3 run before sticking it in the wall. Now, we started a counter in my video earlier in the week, so let's add one more to that, and I wonder how Horrid Football Comments is getting on. Well, he's got his sign. Oh, there we go. Forget it, mate. Slander this poso all you fucking want. Oh, we've got to do the meme again, haven't we? When we got back to green flag running, it would be Verstappen immediately on the attack, going 1,000th quicker than Piastri's initial effort with 5 minutes still left to run. As he prepared for one final go in the dying seconds, Russell set a new benchmark in the Mercedes, before Piastri came at that with a fucking sledgehammer. It was all down to Max Verstappen then, who pulled out the lap of his life to go ever so slightly quicker than the McLaren and secure his second pole of the new campaign. With one of the best qualifying sessions of the year so far then, let's check in and see what Christian Horner thought of all that.
I've just seen him literally 2 minutes ago in his shorts in the kitchen.
Yeah, actually, let's not. Yeah, okay, I see you about to double tap to move ahead 10 seconds, you fucking cretin. Well, it was all a lie. There isn't a sponsor. I mean, what do you expect? I started this one off with a Senna joke. No company's going anywhere near that. In that case then, I'm going to fill up this slot by talking about me. On the 14th of May, it'll be my birthday. And as a present to all of you, I'm willing to drop the first ever video I uploaded to this channel. The one where my balls are higher than Elon's arm, and basically, I look like the world's biggest If you want to see that video, I have a simple request. Go and subscribe to my new F1 podcast, Talk Shift, and if we can cross 10,000 subscribers before the day of my birth, I will publicly humiliate myself for the world to see. I'm confident that's not going to happen, but you're welcome to prove me wrong. Anyway, let's just get to race day. Lando Norris was smiling in the paddock before he realised the cameras were on him and he had to switch to sympathy mode. Anyway, the lights would go out in Jeddah and teammate Piastri would get a mega start, forcing Verstappen to go back to 2021 tactics to stay in the lead. Meanwhile, further back... Oh, never mind, that's actually Pierre Gasly. With Tsunoda and the Frenchman taking part in synchronised f***ing up, the safety car was out. The leaders were busy squabbling like 5-year-olds over who owns turn 1. Verstappen decided to keep the lead, with Daddy Stewards getting involved and giving the Dutchman a 5-second penalty, as well as a new catchphrase. Simply Lovely was so 2024. Now for its replacement, f***ing lovely. Meanwhile, the lead Aston Martin driver was coming into the pits and we were about to go green again, Verstappen catching the McLaren napping and leaving Oscar under pressure heading into turn 1. He'd fend off that attack as the race finally settled into a bit of a rhythm. Nozza was the main man on the move, getting past Sainz before returning to complaining about not having enough clean air, which in fairness he would have had he not decided to rear-end it into the wall in qualifying. Next up for the Britain was fellow countryman #blessed, Norris getting by at the final corner only to watch the Ferrari man sail back around on the pit straight thanks to the DRS. This was all a learning experience for the 4-car though, and then he decided to do it once again 1 lap later. After he was reminded not to be so dense over the team radio, third time was the charm for Lando. Only problem now, he was 14 seconds off the lead. Speaking of said leaders, it was time for the pit stops. Piastri going for the undercuts, of course aided by the 5-second penalty for Verstappen. Sure enough, when the Dutchman emerged from pit road, he was relegated to second behind the Aussie. Further back, there was a 3-way scrap between Lawson, Alonso and Bortoleto. The Brazilian is managed by the Spaniards, though I'm not sure for how much longer when the Sauber attempted to void Fernando's 10% with this assassination attempt down at the first corner. All the while, Norris had been allowed to play race leader, eventually boxing with 15 laps to go and setting off on a warpath to wrap up this one. He was chasing after the battle for third, Leclerc putting a move around the outside of Russell to secure a spot on the rostrum. Or on the subject of Ferrari, I wonder how the Hamilton fans are getting on. As we wait for something else to happen, we bring you the latest edition of the Slows and Hate Club. The Kiwi another caught out by turn 1 track limits, but receiving a 10-second penalty because consistency. Back at the front, Norris was on the move again, getting past Russell for P4, but also being noted for crossing the white line on pit exit. Hello, bottle number 15. Oh, never mind, they've rescinded it. Goodbye, bottle number 15. He would now go after Leclerc in third, but much like everything in Lando's career, this was all a bit of an anti-climax. Verstappen had spent the last few laps trying to catch the other McLaren as well, but Piastri would hold on to take victory number 3 of the season. In doing so, taking the World Championship lead, the first Australian to do so since his manager and chief number 2 driver Mark Webber in 2010. Driver of the day, or as I like to call it, random driver voted by stupid people, ended up going to Max Verstappen this week. You know what, despite the title and the thumbnail and everything I've said in this video, Lando would probably get my vote for his comeback in this one. Props to the Williams pair as well though, Sainz being Albon's guardian angel as he was hunted down by the V-carbs in the closing stages. Final shout out also to Special, who leaves this weekend with a new Formula 1 record in the form of most Q1 eliminations of all time. The Canadians' reaction to this? Well, put the McLaren drivers in the Sauber for 10 years and see what happens. Well, I'm not sure if anyone's told you, but you don't drive for Sauber, you drive for Aston Martin, who were arguably the second fastest team not too long ago. Overall, we got some decent action out there, though was it the best race in the world? Probably not. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Let me know your rating down in the comments below. While you're at it, drop the video a like and get subscribed for comedy reviews throughout the entirety of the 2025 season. Don't forget to subscribe to TalkShift too, and finally, a big thank you to the members and patrons who not only got an early preview of this one, but also get exclusive videos like my thoughts on the latest drama surrounding Mohammed Belen Salayem. There's no F1 next week, but I'll be back with something to be controversial about. In the meantime, f*** off.